Top 25 vehicular disaster movies, aka Carmageddon films of all time. They say dogs are a man's best friend, but cars definitely come to a close second, or first in a lot of cases. Good cars will take you to great places, and good car movies will take your imagination to places it hasn't been before. You would see characters build up and repair their cars, only for them to get blown up or completely thrashed later. Only in these movies you would see a car slide under a truck or escape getting crushed by a moving train in a matter of milliseconds. The possibility of what can be done with a car has inspired several movies and franchises for a long time. In most of these movies, the plot and leading character are the muscled cars, and they do look glorious. It is difficult to pick the best movies out of so many spectacular movies, but here's a list of movies about vehicular disasters. Before we get into the explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin. Number 1. Death Race, 2008. Terminal Island Penitentiary is a privatized prison whose warden makes a profit by broadcasting Death Race online. It's a combat racing series where the prisoners drive weaponized cars and the winner earns their freedom. During one of the races, the top racer realizes that the defense equipment on his vehicle is malfunctioning, and he dies after an accident on the tracks. Jensen Ames, an ex-con, is framed for the murder of his wife and sentenced to life imprisonment. When he is transferred to Terminal Island Penitentiary, 6 months after, he is offered freedom in exchange for taking Frankenstein's position and winning the race. To get in shape for the character of Jensen Ames, Jason Statham trained for 3 months with an ex-Navy SEAL and reduced his body fat to 6% from 20%. Around 35 cars were used for the shoot, and a team of 85 mechanics were constantly working on them. The story was based on Death Race 2000, a cult movie from 1976. The main focus of the film is the action-fueled car races, and the story of a man framed for a crime he didn't commit is the driving force of how the story unfolds. Overall, the film is noisy, violent, and entertaining. Number 2. Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift, 2006. Sean Boswell is a troubled teenager who had to change multiple schools because of his behavior. He ends up clashing with Clay because of Cindy, and the confrontation leads to a car race. Both of their cars crash and they end up getting arrested. Clay and Cindy manage to escape trouble thanks to their influential families. But Sean's previous record and financial background don't help his case. He is sent to live with his father in Japan, who is a US Navy officer. At his new school in Tokyo, he is introduced to the world of drift racing. Tokyo Drift is a standalone film in the Fast and Furious franchise, with a different cast than the other movies. Only Vin Diesel reprised his role as Dominic Toretto for a cameo. Professional drivers were brought in to perform the drifting sequences. This standalone sequel didn't perform as well as the other movies in the franchise. The story focused on a new set of characters as the dates for the original cast couldn't be secured. Lucas Black did a good job in bringing his character to life, but the drift races, fast cars, and the professional drift racers behind the wheels steal the show. Number 3. Mad Max 2, 1981. The aftermath of the global war led to the collapse of civilization and exhausted Earth of its natural resources, like fuel. Max Rokitansky, a former policeman, wanders through the deserts of a post-apocalyptic Australia in his special vehicle. After the death of his family, his dog was his only companion. The humans had resorted to scavenging for fuel from wrecked cars. While chasing Wes, Max comes across an abandoned gyrocopter. Before he can take the fuel, the pilot appears. After their confrontation, Max lets him go in exchange for being led to the newly discovered oil refinery. But a motley gang of drivers called the Marauders had already taken over the compound. Mel Gibson started to cut his hair and eyebrows as he wanted Max to look as rough as possible. He also tore up his gloves and cut the sleeve of his leather jacket to achieve the look. As he wasn't too well recognized in the USA at the time, the trailer mostly focused on the car chase and action scenes instead of showing him. Mad Max 2 is one of the rare sequels that outshines the original, and it is the best installment in the trilogy. The stunts get insane around the end of the movie, and it packs in a lot of action and violence. All Mad Max wanted was gasoline, but he ends up getting tangled in gang violence. Number 4. Redline, 2009. Redline is the most popular race in the galaxy, despite the interplanetary wars. The race is hosted on planet Dorothy, and JP is one of the race car drivers. But the ending result has already been fixed, and the mobsters were afraid that JP might try to win, even though he needed the money. As JP tries to win the race, Frisbee uses a remote detonator to blow up JP's car. When JP wakes up in the hospital, he learns that after 2 of the qualifiers dropped out, he has been voted for Redline by popular demand. But there are obstacles JP needs to overcome for participating in the most popular race in the galaxy. Redline is a Japanese animated science fiction film that centers on intergalactic car races. Instead of CGI, over 100,000 hand-drawn frames were used for the film. Takeshi Koike made his directorial debut with this animated feature. The story might not be the strongest aspect of the film, but the characters are endearing. Redline is an entertaining movie with incredible visuals. Even though it wasn't a commercial success at the time of its release, Redline went on to become a cult film. The art style, adrenaline-filled races, and background score make Redline one hell of a ride. Number 5. The Transporter, 2002. Former Special Ops soldier Frank Martin has been working as the transporter in southern France. He delivers the cargoes he is assigned, no questions asked. The only rules he follows while transporting are 1. Never change the deal. Rule 2. No names. And Rule 3. Never open the package. He has never broken those rules, even when he was offered extra money to make changes. But one day, he felt compelled to break the 3rd rule after suspecting a human inside the package. When a gagged and tied up woman emerges from the package, Frank's rules are thrown out of the window as he is about to get tangled in a messy affair. Jason Statham not only performed most of the stunts, but he also learned how to hotwire a car for one of the scenes. At that time, Shu Qi barely knew any English, and it made it difficult for her to communicate with her co-star off-screen. Undoubtedly, Statham was great as the transporter, and the film packs a lot of action scenes. Although the story has its flaws, The Transporter isn't one of those movies where you have to think too hard. Overall, it's an entertaining movie with car chases, explosions, and believable fight scenes. Number 6. Death Proof, 2007. Mike McKay is an aging Hollywood stuntman. One night, he follows a group of girlfriends into a bar. Arlene was suspicious of him as she recalled seeing him observing her before. As the girls depart after a night of drinking and dancing, Mike offers to give Pam a ride back home. Mike boasts about his death-proof car, but it is only death-proof for the driver. After killing Pam, he catches up with the rest of the group and kills them. About a year later, he finds another group of women to stalk in another state, but they aren't the kind of people to go down without a fight. Death Proof is a high-speed pursuit slasher film written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Originally, it was released as part of the double feature Grindhouse, and was later released as a standalone feature. It was part of the 70s throwback collaboration, purposely made as a B-style movie. It's filled with quick-witted dialogues, violence, action, and a mentally twisted villain. Kurt Russell did a great job in bringing Mike McKay to life. Although Death Proof is no Pulp Fiction, it is still an entertaining flick to watch.
It can get really nasty in there.
Number 7. Speed Racer, 2008. Speed Racer, as his name suggests, is an aspiring car racer. He lost his brother, Rex Racer, after he supposedly died in a cross-country racing rally. Speed Racer's family owns a small business named Racer Motors, where his friends were also involved. When he is offered to race for Royalton Industries, he turns down the offer because of his father's ideals. Soon, he learns the dark secrets behind the world of racing and how much the conglomerates interfere with the final results. While Royalton does their best to prevent Speed from entering the race, Speed retaliates against them on the track with the help of Racer X. Speed Racer is adapted from a manga series of the same name from the 1960s and was written and directed by the Wachowskis. It was the first movie to be filmed in HD by the Wachowskis, and the first time for many other technical aspects, including the use of a Sony F23 digital film camera. The star-studded cast includes Christina Ricci, Emile Hirsch, John Goodman, Susan Sarandon, and many others. A major portion of the film was shot on the green screen for 2 months. The trailer and the marketing didn't do justice to the movie. More than a racing film, it was the live-action version of the popular 60s manga. Number 8. Transformers, 2007. All Transformers, Autobots, as well as the Decepticons, need the Allspark to function, as it is their source of life. The Allspark can grant life to all mechanical and electrical devices. Everyone started fighting over the Allspark after the Transformer Society was betrayed by Megatron. Thousands of years had passed since the war and the Allspark had ended up on Earth. In the American military base in Qatar, a helicopter shows up on the radar and transforms into Decepticon Blackout. Back in the USA, when high schooler Sam Witwicky gets his first car, it turns out to be the Autobot Bumblebee in disguise. The alien robots end up on Earth in search of the Allspark. Transformers is based on a line of mecha toys where the robots can transform themselves into vehicles and animals. The film features intergalactic robot wars between the good robots, Optimus Prime and the Autobots, and Megatron with the Decepticons, where a teenager and his girlfriend get entangled. The visual effects are done well with real actors, and the animation for the robots are a visual treat. Transformers had a compelling storyline and great action sequences. Number 9. Mad Max Fury Road 2015. Former policeman Max Rokitansky gets captured by the War Boys while wandering through the desert. He is then brought to the Citadel of Immortan Joe and used as a blood bag for Nux. When Imperator Furiosa is sent to extract gasoline in her armored war rig, she uses the opportunity to flee the Citadel with Joe's 5 wives. After catching up to their plan, he hits the road with his army to get them back. While Nux tries to contribute to the hunt with Max tied up in the car, the latter manages to escape and joins the wives. Max, along with Joe's wives, must escape Joe and his army to escape recapture. Mad Max Fury Road had received 10 Academy Award nominations and won 6 of them, including Best Film Editing. The film includes a lot of practical effects and minimal use of CGI. The director of the original movie returned for the 4th installment with a higher budget and made the film he wanted to in the earlier days. You don't need to watch the previous movies in the franchise to understand the story or characters. Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron do justice to their characters. Mad Max returns with all his fury in the reboot of this cult classic. Number 10. Fast 5, 2011. When Dominic was being taken to the prison, Mia and Brian came to his rescue, and the three escaped to Brazil. They start to steal cars after reuniting with Vince. While the DEA agents approach for inspection, Mia steals the one car they were after. Dom and Brian get captured while Zizi kills the DEA agents. Dom and Brian manage to escape from Hernan Reyes, but are entangled in a $10 million heist as an FBI agent is sent on their tail. The crew reunites to help Dom achieve his freedom by helping him move to a country where he cannot be extradited to the USA. As the use of CGI in racing movies was off-putting, the scene where a flatbed truck crashes into a moving train was shot without miniatures and CGI. The train was almost derailed because of the stunt. It was the first movie in the franchise to be released in IMAX. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson joins the cast as a bounty hunter, and as expected, there is a showdown scene with him and Vin Diesel. Most of the stunts shown in the film defy the laws of science, but they are highly entertaining. Number 11. Drive Angry, 2011. Jonah King is a cult leader who wants to unleash hell on Earth. To do so, he thinks he should sacrifice Milton's granddaughter, who is still an infant. He had already killed the child's parents. To save his granddaughter from the cult leader, John Milton steals Satan's gun, the God Killer, and escapes from hell. After finding King's followers in Colorado, he kills them and gets to the location where his granddaughter will be killed. On his way, he meets Piper, and both of them head to Stillwater to save the child. But they have to go through King and his followers first. John Milton was a 70-year-old in the original script, but his description was changed once Nicolas Cage expressed interest in playing the character. Cage drives a 1964 Buick Riviera, 1969 Dodge Charger, 1971 Chevrolet Chevelle, and a 1957 Chevrolet 150 in the film, and blows up a lot more. With Nicolas Cage returning from hell and going around killing the bad guys makes the film look like a sequel to Ghost Rider. The film contains a high number of explosions, fights, and deaths, and almost comes off as a grindhouse movie. Number 12. Tron Legacy, 2010. It has been 20 years since the disappearance of Kevin Flynn, the CEO of Encom. Sam grew up missing his father, and he was now a major shareholder of the company. He gets arrested for pulling a prank at the company for trespassing after releasing the signature operating system online without a price. Alan receives a message from Kevin's video arcade after 20 years and shares the news with Sam. Suddenly, Sam finds himself inside the virtual reality created by his father. After getting downloaded into the grid, he finds himself in games fighting off programmed characters. Tron Legacy is the sequel to the 1982 cult classic film Tron. After Sam is downloaded to the grind, they not only wear lit-up outfits but ride in high-tech bikes. The neon lighting during the motorcycle races gives it the feel of a dystopian sci-fi game. Made with a bigger budget than the original, the special effects made the film spectacular. The screenplay is slightly better than the original and adds depth to the story. Although it can be treated as a reboot, the story makes more sense if you watched Tron before. Number 13. Bullitt, 1968. Ross is the witness for an organized crime that's going to have a hearing the next day. He is put under the protection of Detective Lieutenant Frank Bullitt of SFPD. The mob sent hitmen to attack him. Bullitt takes responsibility for not being able to protect the witness and goes after the attackers. Senator Walter Chalmer wants to take down Pete Ross with his brother's testimony, but the death of the witness puts a damper on his plans. Bullitt devises a plan to lure in the criminals and go after them, and what follows is several car chases. The chase scenes were filmed using Mustangs and Dodge Chargers. To get into a detective's role, Steve McQueen used Inspector Dave Toschi as his inspiration, the cop who rose to fame because of his work on the Zodiac Killer's case. It was the car chases that made the film so popular. Apart from speed, the film also has style. There was a spike in the sales of desert boots, trench coats, and other items worn by Steve McQueen in the film. It was one of the first mainstream films to be shot entirely on location. Bullitt is one of the best action films from that era. Number 14. Gone in 60 Seconds, 2000. It has been 6 years since Randall Memphis Raines retired from a life of crime, but he finds himself pulled back in to save his brother. Kip wanted to follow in the footsteps of his brother and took an assignment from Raymond Calitri. Nothing goes according to plan, and the only way for Randall to save his brother is by stealing 50 exotic cars overnight from all over LA. To pull off this task, he reunites with his crew, but it's not going to be a cakewalk as the LAPD has their eyes on them. Most of the stunts were performed by Nicolas Cage himself. He went to several driving schools and a stunt driving school to train for his role. 7 replicas were made for the 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500, the car referred to as Eleanor in the movie, and 5 of them were destroyed during the stunt sequences. Gone in 60 Seconds is an underrated car chase film. The cast includes Nicolas Cage, Robert Duvall, Giovanni Ribisi, and Angelina Jolie. The plot of the movie is car chases, action sequences, and thefts. Overall, it's a good movie to watch.
Here come the cars to the finish line. It's Cole Trickle taking the win.
Number 15. Days of Thunder, 1990. Cole Trickle has trouble adjusting after switching to NASCAR from open-wheeled racing. He couldn't win the first race as he wasn't familiar with the type of lingo of NASCAR racers. But that doesn't stop him from learning and rigorously training. Soon, he wins his first race and finds a rival in Rowdy. Both of them get into an accident during one of the races, and eventually their rivalry turns into friendship. Days of Thunder is the story of Cole, the racer trying to conquer a field he's not familiar with. The film went into production before the script was finished, and the scenes used to be written on the day of filming. The characters Tom Cruise and Robert Duvall played were loosely based on the former driver Tim Richmond and Harry Hyde, who served as his crew chief. The movie does a good job at making the world of NASCAR look interesting. There's nothing unpredictable about the story, and it knows its priority is the cars and racing. Tom Cruise has always been incredible as an action hero, and Days of Thunder looks similar to Top Gun. The fans of NASCAR would definitely appreciate this movie. Number 16. The Fast and the Furious, 2001. On June 22, 2001, Universal released The Fast and the Furious, which would mark the beginning of one of its most profitable franchises. Rob Cohen directed the action picture, which was based on a script by Gary Scott Thompson, Eric Berquist, and David Ayer, with Thompson's story credited to him. Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Rick Yoon, Chad Lindbergh, Johnny Strong, and Ted Levine star in the first installment of the Fast and Furious franchise. In the movie, undercover officer Brian O'Connor, played by the charismatic Paul Walker, is entrusted with uncovering the identity of a bunch of car hijackers commanded by Dominic Toretto, played by the burly Vin Diesel. You get everything in this movie, from slick and sexy men to even sexier cars, which made this movie a massive hit amongst everyone. The film was the 19th highest earning film of 2001, grossing more than $200 million worldwide. The appeal of a film like this is not in its logic, but in its terrifying stunts and high-octane emotions. This racing movie is absolutely top-notch, and the hijacking act is particularly thrilling. In his realistic description of a variety of personalities inhabiting the street racing scene, Cohen skillfully blends masculine swagger and compassion, making this movie an absolute treat for the eyes. All of the races, the crashes, the intense environment surrounding them, and the high stakes make this one hell of a car movie. And coupled with the emotional aspect of family and other relationships that are formed, it is no wonder that the film was extremely well received. Number 17. Drive, 2011. Nicholas Winding Refn directed Drive, a 2011 American action drama film. Hossein Amini wrote the script, which is based on James Salas's 2005 novel of the same name. Ryan Gosling plays an anonymous Hollywood stunt driver who also works as a getaway driver in the film. Irene, played by Carey Mulligan, and her small son Benicio become fast friends with him. When her debt-ridden husband, Standard, played by Oscar Isaac, gets freed from prison, the two men participate in a bungled $1 million heist that puts everyone's lives in jeopardy. Bryan Cranston, Christina Hendricks, Ron Perlman, and Albert Brooks also star in the film. The film is intelligent, provocative, and soulful in ways that most examples of its genre never aspire to be. And it is bolstered by Ryan Gosling's flawless portrayal of the anonymous and unnamed driver, which blends rough and tender to breathe new life into the tired action hero cliché. The picture is a neo-noir treat, delicately treading the tight line between violence and romance. It may not be palatable to everyone, but it can undoubtedly be summed up as a fully realized art house action film. Few critics were shocked by the film's extreme violence, which they said could hurt the film's box office performance. Despite this, the picture was a commercial success, generating $81 million against a $15 million production budget. Drive was named one of the finest films of 2011 by several critics, including the National Board of Review. Number 18. Knight Rider, 2000. Knight Rider 2000 is a science fiction action film based on the 1982 to 1986 television series Knight Rider. The movie was released 5 years after the television series was discontinued in 1991 in the United States. The film is set in the year 2000, when conventional handguns have been outlawed, and law enforcement officers now carry non-lethal ultrasound pistols. For convicted criminals, nationwide financial changes have resulted in the introduction of cryonic suspension rather than traditional jail. Following the killing of a mayor in San Antonio, his replacement seeks a solution, which is found in the Knight 4000, a vehicle that will be the next generation of Knight Industries supercar, KITT. The film reintroduces us to cop David Hasselhoff and his faithful steed, KITT, a vehicle with incredible capabilities, including the capacity to communicate. Hasselhoff and his car are given a female sidekick in this ostensibly futuristic rendition, and they immediately start taking on the crooks and bad guys that infest the streets. They fight the criminals, and the car is their most important ally. The movie did not generate much success, but it is regarded as a largely enjoyable film to watch with your family. The plot and all the action with criminals flying left and right, thanks to KITT, make this an engaging watch. Number 19. Torque, 2004. Torque is a 2004 American action film directed by Joseph Kahn and produced by Neil H. Moritz. It was written by Matt Johnson and directed by Joseph Kahn, Ice Cube, Monette Mazur, Matt Schulz, Max Beasley, Jamie Presley, Adam Scott, Martin Henderson, Jay Hernandez, Fredro Starr, and Christina Milian star in the film. This is a bike movie, so expect plenty of macho, testosterone, and homoeroticism. The film follows the story of biker Carrie Ford, who discovers some crystal meth-laced motorcycles and stows them away. But it turns out that Henry James, the wicked criminal, has plans to reclaim his drugs. James accuses Ford of killing Junior, Trey's brother and the leader of the Reapers, a notoriously evil biker group. Ford flees the country in an attempt to clear his name, as the FBI and a swarm of motorcycle-riding marauders pursue him. If you are a motorhead, this movie is absolutely the one for you. They crash over 15,000 bikes, and there are engines, and more engines along with action and speed at every corner. This film literally drips with energy. Torque is 84 minutes of pure cinema, packed with hilarity and technical prowess to keep things going. The climax of the movie defies all logic, racing so rapidly that it breaks through the boundary of its own form, and if not anything else, watch it for the racing sequences. Number 20. Born to Race, 2011. Born to Race, a film produced by American Cinema International in collaboration with ESX Entertainment, was directed by Alex Ranarivello and written by Steve Sarno, a first-time screenwriter. An ensemble cast of mostly unknown actors including Joseph Cross, Brando Eaton, and Nicole Badan was joined by seasoned character actors Grant Show and John Piper Ferguson in the film. The film revolves around Danny Kruger, a young street racer with a rebellious spirit who crashes a car in an illegal drag race. His estranged father, Frank, a former NASCAR racer whose career was cut short by a crippling on-track accident, is forced to live with him in the little hamlet of Bradford, California. The young racer soon starts getting into trouble, and the film follows his journey as he finds his way into the world of street racing. This picture has a strong cast, and all of the actors do a good job with the material they've been given. The plot is very grounded, avoiding all of the explosions, implausibilities, and frequent automobile destruction found in the Fast and Furious franchise and others. Furthermore, the cinematography is above average, portraying the aesthetic of the street racer's world with aplomb, and the soundtrack helps keep the action moving. The movie, however, is made by the collection of cars on display. There's something for everyone here, from modded-out Japanese imports to genuine old-school American muscle. Number 21, The Italian Job, 2003. There is no way we would miss out on this film in the list of films that have the best car crash scenes. Mark Wahlberg, Charlize Theron, Edward Norton, Jason Statham, Seth Green, Mos Def, and Donald Sutherland star in The Italian Job, a 2003 American heist action thriller film, directed by F. Gary Gray. The plot follows a motley group of crooks who aim to steal riches from a former associate who has double-crossed them in this American version of the 1969 British thriller. Despite the similar title, the plot and characters in this film are not the same as those in the source material, and instead of a remake, has been referred to as an homage to the original film. The majority of the film was shot on location in Venice and Los Angeles when canals and streets were shut down for principal production. The critical response was overwhelmingly positive, with media praising the action sequences, cast performances, and humor. With amazing skill and wit, the film weaves together recognizable aspects. Watching the movie feels like a smooth, exhilarating whoosh down a ski hill with its exquisite timing, steady kinetic speed, and wonderfully choreographed chase sequences between the canals of Venice and the streets of Los Angeles. Number 22, The Wraith, 1986. The Wraith is a 1986 independent American action fantasy film starring Charlie Sheen, Sherilyn Fenn, Nick Cassavetes, and Randy Quaid, and produced by John Kemeny. It was written and directed by Mike Marvin. New Century Vista Film Company released the film in theaters on November 21, 1986, on only 88 screens in the United States. The Wraith is a film about an Arizona boy who inexplicably returns from the dead as a supernatural, or maybe alien-created, street racer driving an indestructible supercar. His goal, as you might have caught on, is to exact vengeance on the thugs who murdered him. The film is wrapped snugly in the pop culture and style of the time, 80s synth rock, big hair, and denim jackets with no shirts underneath. The movie had poor critical success and was cast aside as a film made only for motorheads and people who like the sound of engines and revving cars, but that is exactly why this one is on our list. While it may not be the most sensible movie with logical premise, it delivers on action and destruction and more action. The Dodge M4S, the black car shown in the film, was a real-life technological marvel. It was one of the very advanced PPG pace cars for the PPG Kart IndyCar World Series, created by the Dodge division of Chrysler Motors and PPG Industries. The M4S was developed and built at a cost of $1.5 million, and it had the performance and technology to match that price tag. Number 23, The Junkman, 1982. The Junkman is a 1982 independent film that took 2 years to make. H.B. Halicki used his personal collection of over 200 cars, toys, and weaponry to make the film, including Eleanor, the star of his cult masterpiece Gone in 60 Seconds from 1974. It's the second installment of Halicki's trilogy of films. Gone in 60 Seconds and Deadline Auto Theft are presented as films within films. The tale of Deadline Auto Theft includes an initial vehicle chase action involving a 1974 Bricklin SV1. In addition, the Junkman holds the Guinness World Record for damaging more than 150 cars, trucks, motorcycles, and planes in a single film. In the film, Harlan, a big-time producer of automobile action films, finds himself in the middle of a life-or-death struggle when an unknown foe employs a posse of hitmen to assassinate him. As Hollis tries to avoid assassination attempts and protect his daughter, he engages in car, airplane, and even Goodyear blimp chases. While the screenplay and performances are typical of B-movie material, the film is shot and produced very well. The heart-racing intense action sequences and the amazing cars that co-star in the Junkman, however, set it apart from the plethora of low-budget automotive movies. In fact, you feel quite bad seeing perfectly good and attractive cars destroyed, but well, they deliver Carmageddon like no other. Number 24, Turbo, 2013. Turbo is a DreamWorks Animation computer-animated sports comedy film released in 2013 and distributed by 20th Century Fox. It's based on David Soren's original idea, and he also directed it in his feature debut. The film is set in Los Angeles and follows Turbo, a common garden snail whose ambition of becoming the world's fastest snail comes true. On July 17, 2013, the film was released. Ryan Reynolds, Paul Giamatti, Michael P., Snoop Dogg, Maya Rudolph, Michelle Rodriguez, and Samuel L. Jackson lend their voices to the picture. This is one of the only animated films on our list and has somewhat of a bizarre premise. Out of all of the things that move in this world, why choose snails for a racing movie? Well, the formula works, and the movie is bright, colorful, and definitely a great choice for family viewing because of its fun premise, great voice cast, and positive message. As far as racing sequences go, the entire movie literally revolves around Turbo's need for speed, so you already know that there will be plenty of racing action. Number 25, Death Race 2, 2010. Roel René directed Death Race 2, a 2010 American science fiction action film written by Tony Giglio and Paul W.S. Anderson. It's the second installment in the Death Race movie franchise. The film is a prequel to Death Race 2008 and was released on DVD on December 27, 2010. It was followed by Death Race 3 Inferno in 2013. For a B-movie, the budget was actually quite decent, which can be seen in the cinematography and all of the stunt scenes. Carl Luke Lucas, the first Frankenstein automobile driver, is profiled in this film and is played by the actor Luke Goss. A new game called Death Race is born in the world's most hazardous prison. The rules of this high-octane blood sport are straightforward: drive or die. The film also stars Lauren Cohan, Danny Trejo, Fred Kohler, Tenet Phoenix, Robin Shou, Ving Rhames, and Sean Bean as the villain, in addition to Goss. Some well-staged action scenes, while the entire driving death race scenes are actually only a minor section of the film. The origin of the mysterious Frankenstein figure as one race ends nastily are the highlights of the film. With a name like Death Race, the movie is bound to give you a whiplash as tricked-out cars literally fly across your screen. That's it for the list of high-octane movies that almost always end in brutal car crashes. Revisit the ones you know, or check out the new ones from this list to experience what true Carmageddon is like. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.